Hello, how's it going, my friends? Good day, Weenik. How you doing today? Oh, I should probably post on Flick too. I always forget to do the phone part of the thing. I can't wait until I have the thing on the internets so I can do it like that instead of doing it with the thing, the stupid thing. Okay, you know what, Weenik? Can you do this for me? Can you make a new topic and then post the link if you don't mind? I really want to get to this video. You know, I am how I am with the pain, so I got to get this done. I got other stuff to do. My mom and my sister are coming into town. I'm supposed to go to Philadelphia with my wife tonight, which is awesome, but at the same time, I'm going to be in so much pain today and tomorrow. So, anyway, let's get to it. I'm hoping to spend this mostly on Q&A. Because I wrote my full analysis that's been out since 2 a.m. I don't believe any lineups have come out for today, meaning there's nothing really to talk about that's going to be any different. I've got a message here. So right now, the only thing that is different from last night would be the Vegas total updates. Anything that didn't have a posting or anything that changed, I can let you know about. So I think we should do that because, in lieu of other questions, that's actually significant information in terms of how we rank the pitchers and the stacks. So let's get over here. Thank you. I love this one. This is the old spring training hat from last year. It's my absolute favorite Mets hat, or hat in general. Thank you, Chris. So, I think that regardless of any of that Vegas information, what I wrote about those pitchers is going to hold true. This is a slate. Jeez, I'm sorry. The pain today. I hate to keep bringing it up, but it's, you guys know who I am, and I'm not going to hide anything from you. And I'm a much better talker than someone who stammers because he keeps getting spasms. So I already wrote up a full-throated analysis of all the pitchers. None of that's going to change based on the Vegas totals. What we like about the stacks is, though, so I think that what I'm going to do is go through the games really quick, unless I get a question, and talk about whether I like the stacks more or less. I'm also going to do it much like I did in the article from a value standpoint. I am setting a maximum salary of $4,200 right now. So I'm going to be highlighting people in these lineups that are going to be 4,200 and under because I really, really strongly believe that today is a day where you need to get two really, really good pitchers in there. Excuse me. Geez. So I believe that, whatever value we can get is better. And if you can get value through a stack, all the better, because that is really, the best way you're going to win today. So right now, if you take DeGrom and Garrett Cole, you have an average remaining per player of 3,500, which is not a lot, but certainly something we can work with. We would need one or two cheaper people in order to get that average to around 4,000. Let's, for example, just put Martin Maldonado, who's projected to start today at 2,200, and then your average remaining is almost 3,700. And that's just with one cheap one-off that, any catcher might get a zero today. Might as well spend 2,200. So that being said, we have 3,500, let's say 3,500 a person. So let's look at some of these stacks where we might be able to get a full or a mini stack and spend that little, because I really, again, I do believe that, well, you know what? Let me tangent out of this, because I think that I want to talk about the importance of paying up for pitching. I think that, DFS is a risk game, and I don't think anyone's going to argue otherwise. If they did, they're doing it in bad faith. If it wasn't, then people would win every day instead of having to do 150 lineups to win every few weeks. And good on them. I'm not saying that's a bad strategy. It still takes a lot of skill to do it. It's not in any way a knock on people who do that. It's more saying that any game is going to be a game of variance. There are going to be pitfalls everywhere, and no matter how good you are and how good the information you have is, there are going to be bad days when good people in good spots do badly. That's just the way it is. So you want to maximize your chance for points. Now, more often than not, you are going to get those points from pitchers. You have to think about it like this. Mike Trout might go 0 for 4 and get you 0 points. But do you really think that like Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, or Garrett Cole has a floor of 0 today? Do you really think they're going to go in the negative? Do you think Jacob deGrom against the Miami Marlins, who are seriously one of the worst offenses in the history of the game of baseball, are going to make Jacob deGrom go into the negative? I don't. So when you have that safety and that potential for an incredible ceiling, that's something that you need to prioritize over bats. This is a mistake I am seeing people make, and a mistake that I myself made when I was new to baseball DFS. I thought, hey, that stack, that Astros stack, that Red Sox stack, whatever it is, looks awesome. I want to get them in. So let me take, Springer and Altuve. Again, this is back in the day, not now. Let me take Springer and Altuve and Correa. Let me ram in these expensive bats, and then, this pitcher who's 6,700 has a decent chance of getting 15 to 20 points. He might not have a huge ceiling, but he has a good chance. And then invariably that pitcher would blow up. And even if you wind up having a couple of dudes that get you double-digit points, or even if most of the dudes get you double-digit points, you're still not going to win. You might even get the cash into the cash, but you're not going to win. The pitching is the most crucial part of DFS. If you have somebody who is underpriced, I'm not saying don't play them. I'm not saying that the only way that you can do this is by picking the most expensive pitchers every day. That's surely not the way to go around it. Maybe if you're playing cash only, what I'm saying is that people undervalue and underrate the importance of having a sure thing pitcher and overvalue the importance of having a sure thing stack, because a sure thing pitcher is going to, on average, produce significantly more for you than a sure thing stack. Every once in a while, you're going to have those games where Springer and Bregman get you 40 DKP. It happened the other day. But in all honesty, I picked the two most expensive pitchers that day and still fit in Bregman and Springer and had all of those together because there was a cheap enough stack that let me get a mini stack of more expensive people. And those pitchers wound up getting 20, 25 points when a lot of the underpriced pitchers wound up getting you in the negative. So, this is a very crucial game theory and thing, and something that a lot of people ignore. There's a reason I put pitching before stacks. People try to separate it like it's two different things, but it's all the same salary. And if you are sacrificing the more sure thing, you are doing yourself a disservice and you are going to cost yourself money in the long run. I'm not saying that you need to punt batting every day. It's certainly possible that if you take, the DeGrom and the Garrett Cole or the DeGrom and the Scherzer, there just aren't enough cheap bats that you can put together a functional lineup without just going hunting for random cheap people that, you're flipping a coin or hoping and praying, Hail Marying that they're going to get any kind of production. What you want to do is make sure that you have a balance between the two, but priority should be pitching. If the pitching at the lower end of the spectrum is going to be shakier. Then you can play them in GPPs if you acknowledge the risk. Just don't get mad if they blow up. You can play them as a part of an MME strategy. But if you're playing a single lineup, if you want to maximize your chance of getting the highest score possible, pitching is going to be the unequivocal key to that. So yeah, absolutely. So I think that, the most important, next to stacking, which I think does go underrepresented looking at some of the lineups that people put together. While stacking, I think, is the most important thing, pitching is the most important thing. You have to have good pitchers, especially on FanDuel, where you only get one shot. It's impossible to win on FanDuel if one pitcher does really, really well and your pitcher doesn't. Impossible. It's just not going to happen. So, making sure that you are not brushing pitcher aside and thinking that, they have the variability of a batter, you're doing yourself a disservice. They might be in the same lineup, but they are to be treated drastically differently. And I think that the first thing you need to do before you look at the stacks, before you look at anything else in a given day, before you look at anything else on a slate, is look through all of the pitchers. And again, that's why I started writing my articles the way I have over the last few days, because the lack of lower options, I want you to be able to go through every single pitcher, look at recent form, look at their strengths and weaknesses, look at if they have a good splits matchup against the batters, look at if they're hot or cold, or if the batters are hot or cold. All of that is relevant information, and all of that is necessary for you to build successful lineups. You cannot just fill people in because they fit the price. This is not, basketball where, some dude is going to get the minutes, and because he gets the minutes, odds are he's going to get a specific number of points, or a number of points within a range. This is something where every batter has a floor of 0 and they hit that floor all the time. Pitching is the most important, and strikeouts for those pitchers are the most important out of those. So again, I think that on a slate like today, there are some cheaper options that you can go to in GPPs, specifically, what's the kid, Irvin? I want to say on the Phillies, I have my list here somewhere. There you go. I think Irvin on the Phillies is a chance you can take. Not a big fan, but a chance you can take. Nova is cheap enough. Yeah, 100%. Trunks is right. It all revolves around pitching. You take the high strikeout percentage, the swinging strike rate, and you strike and you stack against the pitchers who don't miss bats. It is 100% that. Who's in on Lucchesi? Who's in on Lucchesi? How much is he on FanDuel? That everyone's in on Lucchesi today on FanDuel. Hold on one second. 6,200. Holy shit. Wow. That's especially if they're going to play Polanco like they did yesterday. Yeah, the Pirates aren't good against lefties, and that's basically the entire San Diego rotation. It's 4 lefties. It's amazing. You don't see that very often. You have teams that have, I remember a couple years ago, there was a team that went like 2 seasons without having a left-handed starter go for them. I think it was the Cardinals, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I'm sorry, Andrew Nesbitt. The Pirates are not, it's the bottom of the lineup is bad, period. And I'm sorry to say that. But the top of the lineup is too left-handed centric with Frazier and Polanco there. And then Reynolds, from the 5 down, it's a lot tougher. So yeah, the Pirates do. Most teams throw all righties. You'd be surprised, if you go through my team template sheet, the percentage of righties there are compared to lefties. It's shocking. But that's why a lot of bad lefties are in the game, because a bad lefty is a lot better than a bad righty. But anyway, let's get back to it. So I think that You want to look at the people. So when I put this together, to piggyback off of what Trunks is saying, look at the people that I have listed that have the lowest strikeout rates, and those are the people that are going to be some of the better guys to stack against. The exception to this is certain ground ball pitchers. There are certain ground ball pitchers. I'm trying to think of one. I mean, Nova's kind of one, so we can just use him as a poor man's example of a ground ball pitcher. Nova is not the worst pitcher in the game. He's not a good pitcher by any stretch. I don't think anyone is going to say, I want to be all over Nova today. He's the best pitcher on the slate, but Nova is someone who isn't as bad as people think. And if you look at the way he pitches, like, he's not trying to be a dominant strikeout guy. He is trying to get by. And, against a Blue Jays team that has made some of the worst pitchers in baseball look like absolute aces, I can totally understand running with Nova. But again, that is a deep GPP play. If you're playing 5 lineups, I still don't want Nova. If you're playing 20 lineups, maybe have 1 Nova in there. But this is not, I'm not saying play Nova. I'm just saying there's very little at the bottom end of the spectrum that you can even take a chance. Even if you take a chance on Nova, you're not even expecting 20 points out of him because he's not going to strike people out. So again, what you want to do is lock in those pitching points as quickly as you can. So let's see, we got here. Yeah, I have to look at the pricing. Keller is a ground ball pitcher, dominant ground ball pitcher, but he has looked not so great lately. If you look here, Keller, 7.8 strikeouts per 9, which is good for the ground ball pitcher, but 7.8 walks per 9, 1.94 whip. His xFIP is almost 5. Like, Keller has not been good lately, and this is an Angels team that is projected to get almost 6 runs, the most on the slate. So, Mike Trout doesn't have a problem elevating the ball off of a ground ball pitcher. La Stella hasn't shown that. Ohtani certainly doesn't. Ohtani, actually, if I remember correctly last year, Ohtani did better against ground ball pitchers than fly ball pitchers. There's something about the way he swings. I guess he has a specific uppercut type, if I remember correctly from last year. Goodwin's heating up. Calhoun's been fantastic. So I would, Keller's a ground ball pitcher, but in bad form. So I would definitely be more a fan of taking the Angels here, especially, again, given the total. But I'm going to go back to my original point. Lock in the good pitching. That is the most important thing today. And again, I am going to put here, we have DeGrom. I'm locking him in. I'm not even locking him in, just for the purposes of this. And one day I'll learn how to share my screen. I talked to a dude today. There's exciting things on the horizon, and I'm going to have some kind of production with my videos where, I'll know how to do things, and I'll know how to share my screen so you can see different projections and you can see everything that I'm building up. So if you put in DeGrom and Cole, you have 3,500. So what I want to do in this video is look at teams that you can get for under that, or teams that you can get for, the under 4,000 mark, where you can maybe take a couple cheaper one-offs in other positions, but still maintain the additive effect of having a stack, which is why you stack in the first place. So first up, the Tampa Bay Rays against the Yankees are projected to get 4.7 runs. Sabathia has been, if you go by FIP, he has been the worst pitcher over the last couple of weeks. It's been terrible. He's an old dude and he's not pitching well. And we have projected, again, I wish these lineups were out already, Daniel Robertson for 3,000 batting third. Travis d'Arnaud, who's a hot mess, so I really don't want to play him. If I'm going to punt catcher, I'm going to go cheaper than that, but he's 2,800. Kevin Kiermaier, a lefty, so a lefty that's much better against lefties, so no thanks there, for 3,600. Heredia, who has been on fire lately, is a lefty masher. He's one of those dudes that you only play him when he's going against lefties, and odds are if they bring in a righty, they're going to take him out of the game. But he's only 3,000. So that's, again, you have the chance of getting him. Robertson. Willie Adames is very good against lefties, and he's 3,300 at a weaker shortstop position. So you have three bats right there that all are under the 3,500 mark, and you could get a mini three stack there. While I would like the 3 and the 7-8 to be closer to one another, it's certainly within range that you can have an additive effect from the 3 and the 8, although it's a lot harder to get. But it's not impossible. Regardless, Sabathia is a terrible pitcher. Rays are projected to get about 5 runs. You can get a mini stack here with an additive effect and still get the 2 pitchers. Adames, Robertson, and Guillermo Heredia. Heredia is day-to-day. I expect him to be back today, and I have him batting 7th. Guillermo Heredia, you're welcome. He is an outfielder, right-handed batter for 3,000 for Tampa Bay. So again, he is a lefty masher. He is one of those dudes they got him to hit against lefties. They only play him when they're going against lefties. And if you look at recent form, I will get that because I was impressed by recent form. I had him as hot on my lineup. Recently, Heredia over the last 2 weeks, batting average of 400, OPS of 1.171, ISO of 200, but his WOBA is 503. So again, he's not getting that many plate appearances because they only use him against lefties. But when he gets at bats against those lefties, he's doing a hell of a job. So again, 3,000 for a lefty masher against a Sabathia who's doing terrible. You get a 3-man mini stack here. Sign me up, really, truly. The Yankees are projected to score 5 runs because Chirinos has looked poor, but I really don't want any part of Rays bullpen games. They just lock it down, and if Chirinos doesn't do well, they'll just bring in an assorted bunch of people that are going to be able to shut these Yankees down. My sister got to meet Gleyber Torres yesterday, though. My sister works with learning disabled people. She's like a counselor and a helper, and she helps them to find jobs and counsels them and teaches them different skills and stuff. And every year they have this awesome function where all the kids it's every age, it's the kids and the adults, where they all get to come together and they get a bunch of sports stars to come and talk to them and shake their hand, and it's this wonderful thing. Last year was a bunch of Mets, and this year it was Gleyber Torres for the Yankees. So it's really cool that on his day off, with all the home runs he's been hitting, he went there to do that for the kids. Good for him. And I'm not someone, you could see this. This is not someone who speaks highly of Yankees very often, but, credit where credit's due. My sister said he was a nice guy. So that being said, let's move on. Other cheap stacking opportunities. Let's move on. I'm not going Cubs. I'm not going Nats. The Rockies, I talked about a cheaper 2-man with Reynolds and Desmond. They're both 4,000. They've been hot lately. They mash lefties. And Cole Irvin is only making a second start, but that's a little too expensive when you could get a few better options. John Gray, like I've always said, is hit or miss. It's basically based on how well he decides to do that day. None of the pitchers, the Phillies, are priced in a way that I think they make adequate value. So again, I would move past them if you're trying to fit in those expensive pitchers. We have an interesting one here with the Astros against Porcello. Porcello's looked pretty poorly lately. Ryan O'Hearn, is he Ryan O'Hearn for the Royals? What about him? Oh yeah. Oh, I'll get to that, Trunks. Yeah, no, the Royals are one of my cheaper teams. I'm going in time, as the games go off. So right now I'm at the 7-10 games. I think the Astros are someone that you might want to try to fit in here. I think that you can get Reddick for 3,900, Gurriel, who's been really hot lately, for 3,800, and then Eldemus Diaz at second base for 4,200. Granted, that's about 4,000, and we don't want to go that high, but 5.1 run total, underpriced, in great form. I have no problem going there. I don't think they're going to be highly owned. People generally are going to avoid those bats against the Red Sox, and I think that that's a mistake. I'm going to move on because I don't want to stack against Garrett Cole. The Indians, I believe I listed them as my favorite value stack today. The pricing on the Indians is fucking ludicrous. Pardon my French. Lindor is 4,500. if you want to pay up for him, you should. He's been hit or miss lately. But then you have Kipnis batting second. Again, this is against the Orioles. Dylan Bundy, one of the worst pitchers in the game. The Orioles bullpen, the worst in the game. The Orioles give up more home runs than anybody, and it's not even close. The Orioles are one of the worst pitching staffs that I've seen in a long time. They really are that bad. It is not an understatement. And the Indians are projected to score 5.2 runs, and they have not been priced up for it. So even if we want to play two expensive pitchers, we can get Kipnis for 3,300. Santana's cold, so I'm going to skip him at 38. I'd rather have other first basemen like O'Hearn that we're going to get to later. Cargo is cold, but he's only 3,300. Bowers has been doing well, 3,500. I think Luplow was only 4,000. He's been on fire lately, even though he's a lefty guy as well. Martin has been doing well at 3,800. Roberto Perez, if he's catching, has been on fire, 3,400. You can get 5 dudes for an average under 3,500. You can put DeGrom and Cole in and 5 Indians right now, and you will still have enough to fill in the lineup with respectable bats and another mini stack. That is awesome. And they're my favorite. And there's another one. That's the great part. We have 2 different options of 5-man stacks with DeGrom and Cole and still fitting in other people down the line. So again, Cleveland, fantastic. Can't go wrong there. It's by far the best spot because you cannot get better than against the Orioles, and you're not going to do better than having these prices. It's just ludicrous that hasn't corrected itself, and that DraftKings doesn't manually boost teams going against the Orioles the way they manually boost them when they go into Coors Field. So next up is the Dodgers and the Reds. So the Dodgers are all too expensive. I can understand, a one-off of Kike Hernandez at 3,800, but there are better, cheaper options with more upside. DeSclafani has been underrated this season, especially lately. He's been pitching very well. Granted, it's the Dodgers. They're the best offense in the National League. But Rich Hill has been pitching really badly. He has a short leash, and that's one thing that I want to talk about. The Reds have an almost 5-run total because Rich Hill's been doing poorly, but the Dodgers have a really good bullpen. So even if they get through Rich Hill, it's not like there's Xanadu waiting for them with Kublai Khan there. There's no stately pleasure dome. If you want to go deep into poetry and you like references, gotcha. So even if you get past Rich Hill, these cheap guys are not in as good a spot as the Indians who are getting past Dylan Bundy. That being said, I want to give you all the options, even if I say they're not as good an option, because it's up to you to make that choice. And if you like them better than I do, then you should feel free to go. If you're MMEing, then there's certainly another option. You have Iglesias, who's been hitting really well, 3,300. Farmer, who's a lefty masher guy, 3,500. He will be taken out immediately, though, if they bring in a righty. So take note of that. Casali has been hot lately, 3,100 at catcher. Peraza is 2,800 for someone with 2 home run upside. That's fantastic. I know Votto has been cold, but 3,500, no one's going to play him a lefty on lefty. I mean, for good reason. And then Senzel has looked really good. If you want to go up to the 4,200, I understand. But the point is you can get 5 Reds against a struggling Rich Hill. I don't like them as much as other options that I've already talked about and that I'll get to later. But it is certainly an option for you if you're getting down the line and you're doing a whole lot of entries. Now we come to the second team, apart from the Indians, where you can fit every... Ooh, the Reds lineup just popped. That's actually relevant because I just finished talking about them. Let's see. It is the exact lineup that I had. Okay. Senzel, Votto, Suarez, Puig, Iglesias, Farmer, Casali, Peraza, DeSclafani. I think I had DeSclafani batting 8th instead of 9th. So yeah, Casali 3,100, Peraza 2,800, Iglesias 3,300. All of those dudes are underpriced. Granted, a lot of people are underpriced and in better spots, but don't ignore them if you're building a whole lot of lineups. Excuse me. Next up is the second favorite stack. I can understand if you like them better than the Indians, given recent form. But the Oakland A's, 5.2 run total as well. And nobody on this team is more than 4,200, which is fucking crazy because Chris Davis is on fire right now, and he's 4,100 against a lefty and a bad lefty. Well, a, a mediocre lefty. I don't say it's tough with Daniel Norris because he's one of those dudes that has those good games. You all know if you watch baseball, Daniel Norris isn't as bad as some of the pitchers that we're going to talk about today or that we've talked about in the past. But against an Oakland A's team, I am most certainly worried about his about the way he's going to go today, and the fact that the A's are all so incredibly cheap. Let's take a look here at the specifics because I mark them hot or cold, but I'd rather go over this with you. Since I have the time and this is all I'm doing today, without any questions coming in anywhere. Nope. So we have Mark Canha, who I would expect to start today, 3,600. He is a lefty masher. If you watch me or read me, I don't even remember. I think I did it on Twitter last time after they dropped Kendrys Morales or DFA'd him and they promoted or got Canha off the IL. I told you play him because he's a lefty masher and he had a home run that game. Well, he's in the lineup again because it's a lefty and he's only 3,600, batting sixth over his last week. He is an OPS of 1.250, an ISO of 750, and a WOBA of 498. If you don't know what advanced stats mean, I can summarize it for you. Damn, those are good. So Canha, fantastic play today. I assume Fegley plays. If he plays a 1.100 OPS with 20 plate appearances over the last couple weeks, an ISO of 200, but a WOBA of 468. So Fegley, 3,600 as a catcher. I like punting catcher, but you could do a lot worse than that. And he has been on fire lately. I would expect Grossman to sit, but if he plays 1.147 OPS with a 353 batting average, 294 ISO, and a 475 WOBA, if Fegley sits and they play Hundley, 1.333 OPS. I mean, the numbers there speak for themselves. Chris Davis, 1.040, 375 ISO, 413 WOBA. This is a team of hitters that are really, really hot right now. The only hitter I would classify, there's no one I would classify as cold. I generally like the WOBA to be like 210 or under, considering, with an OPS under 500 and Profar's at 503 OPS with a 223 WOBA. So I'm not going to play Profar if he plays. Semien 241 WOBA with a 555 OPS. So I'm a little more hesitant to pay for Semien when he's 3,900. And there are other shortstop options that I like, especially on Kansas City. But again, we have, Pinder should be batting second, 3,500. He's a lefty masher. Chapman, 4,200, the most expensive play. I don't know if I'm going to go there again because of how much I want to spend per player, but I am going to go to Chris Davis at 4,100. Piscotty is hottie. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, God. Piscotty is hottie lately. Yeah, 3,600. Canha, 3,600. Laureano's been okay, not great lately, 3,400. Every single player on the A's is 4,200 or under, and they're all going against a bad lefty. So, take that for what it's worth. The Indians and the A's will let you fit in two aces while still maintaining a stack. You could get 5 A's and 3 Indians. You can get 4 and 4. You can have 2 functional stacks and 2 aces today and fit them in without a problem. And that's nuts. Both of these teams are going to get over 5 runs against bad teams with bad bullpens. That shouldn't happen. I don't know how you don't start there today, given how much better that is than the other options that you're going to see. I'm going to continue on because I am already at 35 minutes. The Tigers, so if you sort by FIP, like I talked about, Sabathia is the worst pitcher over the last couple weeks, and Frankie Montas for the A's is the best. 8,800. He doesn't have the strikeout upside of other people, and he's too expensive for the way he pitches. But it should note that he is going against a bad team that's supposed to get under 4 runs. And he has been in excellent form lately. Still, 8,800. I would much rather just take 2,000 off of my batters and go up to Garrett Cole. I don't see any other way to do it today than to do that, because Garrett Cole can get you 40 points, and unless Montas gets you a complete game shutout, he's not going there. Garrett Cole could get you that through 6 innings with the amount of strikeouts that he can get today. Next up is the Mets and the Marlins. DeGrom against the Marlins, so no thank you on the Marlins. Trevor Richards is not a good pitcher, but I am not a big fan of this Mets lineup. This is, losing Conforto and McNeil, who are 2 of your 3 best hitters, is going to be disastrous. They're not going to score a lot of runs. I still expect them to win by a run or 2, but a 4-2 game is not what we're looking for today. We're looking for bats that are going to go off, and Juan Lagares is not, Todd Frazier is not, and I don't want to pay 5,100 for Pete Alonso. As well, I do want to pay 5,100 for Pete Alonso, but I won't be able to. He might hit a home run today, but 5,100. I told you at the beginning of the season how quick it was going to be before Pete Alonso is at and will continue to be at 5,000. I said it would be a couple of weeks. It was a couple of weeks. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this kind of stuff, folks. Next up is the Brewers and the Braves. I think this is an interesting one. You can get a mini stack of the Brewers here. Aguilar has been hot or cold, to say the least. He was hot for like a weekend, and then he went really, really cold, and he's still been there. But he's still going to bat 5th and be 3,600 against a lefty when they're going to score 4.5 runs. Keston Hiura, 3,800, and then Orlando Arcia, a shortstop, for 3,300, have all been in decent form. And they're all cheap enough that you could get a mini stack there if you really hate Max Fried. I would much rather go with the Braves lefties if you can get them cheap. But yeah, even that, like Albies is Albies is a switch hitter, by which I mean that if you look at his numbers, and you know what, let me get those up for you, because why am I even doing this if I'm just going to tell you things like I'm writing the article? The Braves are a tricky team today, because Jhoulys Chacín is like a poor man's Tehran. And if you watched or read anytime I've talked about Tehran, you know that he is someone who is really good against righties and really bad against lefties, which is why I recommended him against the Cardinals yesterday, because it was 5 righties in a row. With Chacín, it's much of the same. He is really good against righties and really, really bad against lefties. So if this were a Braves team that had a bunch of lefty options, especially at the way they're priced, I would be a huge fan. As it stands, I am a huge fan of Freeman and Markakis today. They are both over 4,000. Freeman is closer to 5,000 than I would like, but they are both absolutely fantastic today. Chacín does not get lefties out, but this is what I want to talk about. Really quickly, Ozzie Albies is listed as a switch hitter, but Ozzie Albies is one of those switch hitters that you can only play from one side of the plate. And in this case, it's when Ozzie Albies is batting as a right-handed batter. So let's look at it over his career. Okay, as a lefty, I'm going to do this the way I did it in the article when I was talking about whatever pitcher that was. I'm going to talk about the numbers as a lefty and then the numbers as a righty. Batting average as a lefty, 237. As a righty, 339. On base percentage as a lefty, 296. As a righty, 369. Slugging percentage as a lefty, 408. As a righty, 556, which, if you do that math, means his OPS as a lefty is 704 and as a righty is 925, and that's as a career. So his ISO as a lefty, 171, as a righty, 217, this is just, a tale of two cities. Albies, you can play Albies anytime they are going against a lefty. He is a lefty masher locked into a switch hitter's body, but I will not play him as a lefty. So I would look at the Braves as a mini stack here. I'm a big fan, again, of Freeman and Markakis, assuming they play. If they work in any other lefty here, I would be a big fan. Let me see if they even have any others on the roster on my template here. NCarte they could play as a lefty. I wouldn't mind that. If they get NCarte in there, they'll still probably play Austin Riley, though, right? I mean, maybe they'll. If they sit Riley, then I would be a really big fan of taking the mini stack. Let me check how much NCarte is. Oh, my dog is. Oh, he's on the IL. What? Oh, yeah, I missed that a couple days ago. No shit, I missed that. I definitely missed that. Okay, so never mind. So yeah, only two guys on the Braves. How did I miss NCarte going in the IL? Anyway, holy shit! Wow. Wow, the total came out for the Cardinals-Texas game that I had as having no total yesterday. I wrote that the Cardinals would be well over 5 runs. They are projected to score 6.4. Actually, no, it's going to be 6.3 for the Cardinals and 5.2 for Texas. The wind is, and that's with the wind blowing in at 16 miles an hour, which, if you don't know, Vegas actually does include all of that in to Vegas totals. They include the weather, they include the umpires, they include everything. So anytime someone says, we factor in the umpires, they're just factoring in Vegas totals, and that comes with it, which is funny, but dishonest. So the Cardinals are a great stack. One of the best stacks of the day. And again, you can get these guys for way too cheap. I mean, I get it. DeYoung is 5,100. Ozuna's 4,900. They're both fantastic. But Goldschmidt's been the hottest hitter on this team. He's only 4,500. Carpenter got a home run, which hopefully means he's heating up. He's going against a failed closer in Leclerc, followed by one of the worst pitchers in baseball, Adrian Simpson, who's going to follow him up as the long reliever or whatever. Carpenter's only 4,000, and he's been doing really well. Wong at 4,100 is another lefty that I want to focus on because he has been really hot lately. Fowler, 3,900, he has been really hot lately. And then we have like a wraparound stack. I wouldn't take, as of right now, I have Bader coming back and batting ninth. I have no interest in him, but you can get a really nice, Martinez, Molina, Fowler, Wong, Carpenter stack, and that'll only cost you on average about 4,000. So if you do want to take 5 Cardinals, you can offset that by taking you couldn't do with Yadi Molina. If you take Goldschmidt, Carpenter, Martinez, Fowler, and Wong. You could take like Maldonado, and then what's the Lopez from the Royals? He's still 3,300. You can get Maldonado and Lopez and fit in your last spot, and you'd be able to fit in the 2 aces and a 5 stack of people that are a team that's projected to get 6.4 runs. Nicky Lopez, yeah. That's fantastic. Those, again, a 6.4 run total outside of Coors Field is ridiculous. It really only happens in Texas. If it happens, if you pay attention, because that ballpark is really good and it gets really hot there. It's going to be 85, but the wind again is blowing in at 16. So, damn, that is nice. I might have to pivot to the Cardinals and see what I can do with them because those guys are all far too underpriced for that projected total. And you can get DeGrom or Scherzer. I would go DeGrom because the Marlins thing, but DeGrom and either Scherzer or Cole and a full Cardinals stack, and then fit in a couple of cheaper guys that you might not like as much. It might not be as well balanced as if you go, Indians and Oakland, but you're still going to do really good for yourself. Pardon me. I love my root beer. I treated myself. And then you have the Rangers as part of Operation Stack against Miles Mikolas every time he pitches. 5.3 run total. You have Odor, who's hot now, 3,500. Cabrera, I'll take him for 3,900. Guzman, who's doing all right, for 3,800. Mathis is projected to catch for them today instead of Kiner Falefa. Mathis is 2,100. for a team getting 5.3 runs. You could get 3 guys here, 2 guys here, and fit in whatever pitchers you want. Mikolas, as I've explained in my article, is a control pitcher, which means if his control is just a little off, he is going to get absolutely destroyed, or they're going to get to that bullpen real quick. Next up, we talked about Nova being a crafty pitcher, a ground ball pitcher. Is it? Oh, I thought he was. Oh, yeah. That's a shame. I really liked him as a shortstop, but I mean, he's playing second base. In all fairness, that's why they moved Merrifield out to the outfield. So the Blue Jays are all too cheap as well. Vladdy is 4,100. Rowdy Tellez against the righty is 37. Grichuk's been in great form, 4,200. But again, the Blue Jays have a way of making really bad pitchers look really good. And while I don't want any shares of Nova really today, I don't want any shares of this game, period. And then Aaron Sanchez, much the same. Like, he has a pretty good strikeout upside, but he's far too hit or miss. I know the White Sox strike out a lot, but Moncada's looked good, Abreu's looked good, McCann's looked good, and Tilson's looked good. Tim Anderson's back. I think he's going to be heating up. So that's just enough bats there that it concerns me. I would much rather, again, pay up for the pitchers than take that risk. I don't think there's enough bats or bats in good spots to warrant that when you could get that production from cheaper stacks today and then lock in the pitchers. Next up is Giants and the Diamondbacks. I talked about this in my article as well. The Giants are one of the worst offenses in the game. I really never want to play them, but on a day like today, when you're looking for the value, they are value. Merrill Kelly is like a poor man's Mikolas. He has been one of the worst pitchers in baseball this season, especially over the last couple of weeks. His numbers are absolutely abysmal. And much like with the A's, the most expensive play on the Giants is only 4,100. Well, theirs is 4,200, but you get what I mean. The pricing on the Giants is ludicrous for a team that's still projected to get over 4 runs. Again, much further down than the other teams, but if you're building multiple lineups, it is certainly worth considering, a Panic who's been on fire lately at 3,600, Crawford who's been doing well enough for 3,200, Posey who's coming back at 3,500. I don't think he has the home run power anymore, but we'll see. Maybe the stint on the IL did him wonders. And then the Diamondbacks are going to do well, but they're far too overpriced for a team not even projected to get 5 runs today. Then we have Royals A's, and this is another one that I really like a lot. The Royals with Lopez at 3,300, Soler at 4,100, O'Hearn at 3,400 looks great. I never want to play Maldonado, but him or Mathis at 22 or 2,100 are going to let you fit in the bats that you want and the 2 ace pitchers. And then I never really want to play Hamilton either, but we all know him. If he gets on base, he's going to get you a stolen base, and that's an easy 7 points if he winds up walking. And this is Matt Harvey, so anyone can walk anytime. So I don't think you're going to be able to get a full stack out of the Royals unless you want to take some worse players than what we have on other teams. But I certainly think that if you want to go Lopez, O'Hearn, Maldonado, ooh, that's really good. That really is really good. I am sad though that they moved Lopez to second base on DK, as Trunks pointed out in the chat there. That is really a shame. Matt Harvey needs to be stacked against whenever. And then if we look at the Angels, they have 5 players at 4,200. Simmons, Pujols, Goodwin, Lucroy, and Fletcher projected to be the 9 batter instead of Cozart. Please, Andrew, I'm not going to ignore anything. That's why I'm doing this. It's not like I'm getting swamped. I can stop and then, go back. I did not look at the turbo slate. What games? Can you tell me what games are on the turbo slate? What times is it? What times are it? And then I can talk to you about it really quickly. So I'm going to move on from there because there aren't really enough cheap bats. It's just Twins. So is it the 10 o'clock games? So it's Royals, A's. The Royals, A's. Okay. Twins, Mariners, Pirates, Padres, Giants, D-backs. Oh, so it's the 4 games. So Giants, D-backs, Royals, A's, Pirates, Padres, and Twins, Mariners. Okay. Yeah. I'm going through all of these right now. That's okay. That's why I was confused. That's normally not the turbo. Normally the turbo is like the 8 o'clock. So yeah, as of right now, given their 4.9 total and his recent form, Samardzija for 7,500 is someone to consider, but yeah, this is a tough one. This is not the best. I think that there are two clear options to take on the night slate, and we're going to get to one of them right now. We have the Pirates and the Padres, Jordan Lyles and Joey Lucchesi. It is Jordan Lyles, not Joey Lucchesi. I like Jordan Lyles a lot. I really do. I think he is a really good pitcher. I think he has shown his upside, his strikeout upside. His recent form has been okay enough that we can play him, and he is 8,100 on a smaller slate. On the big slate, no, thank you. Again, he's priced too high. He's too close to the aces. That his upside isn't nearly as high as theirs. So I'd much rather, again, take 2,000 off of my hitters and then take Jordan and not take Jordan Lyles, take one of the aces over him. But if you're talking night slate, Jordan Lyles at 8,100 against a colder Padres team looks really, really good. They're not going to get a terrible Ian Kinsler coming off the bench hitting 3-run home runs to win them games very often. And I would expect that Lyles can, rack up a few strikeouts and keep this game low scoring enough that he will do you well enough on that slate. I wouldn't put him in the same category as, the DeGroms or the Garrett Coles today. But, if you're talking about that 4 games, Lyles is one of the better ones. Lucchesi is 8,200 on DraftKings, and he is 6,200 on FanDuel. That is ludicrous. Okay, so if you want to punt Lucchesi against a Pirates team that's bad against lefties, only projected to get 3.3 runs, I get it. Hey, Chris Hernandez, thank you very much. I appreciate you reading my articles. Lucchesi, is he not going to be chalk at all? I can't believe that. Really? He's so cheap. If Cole Irvin is not chalk at all. Oh, did you? Ooh, I'd be interested in seeing that. Let's see what RG says on there. If he's only 5% owned, I would be a big fan of taking Cole Irvin today. Let's see. I have actually not looked at. Wow, RG has him at 3%. No, I don't. Believe me, I don't. I like seeing what they say. But as I write about when I wrote my good chalk, bad chalk for basketball, I take all this with a grain of salt. It just shows to see where the industry expects the ownership to go. I can't imagine that he's that low. 7,000 for the way he pitched in that first game. Yeah, no. Everything is a guideline, especially when it comes to industry stuff like that. Wow. So let me backtrack a little bit here, because that is worth talking about. I talked in the article about that Irving has some good and some bad. He looked fantastic. He was not a top prospect, so it's not like he has the pedigree that other pitchers have. He's not, a top prospect coming in that everyone is expecting to blow the world away. But he is going against a Rockies team that is not in Coors Field and who hits much worse in Coors outside of Coors Field. So I understand, Story is questionable. If he's out, that's a big boost to Cole Irvin. Brendan Rodgers playing shortstop is not going to be someone that they even need to consider. So, this is a Rockies team that strikes out a lot, is much worse outside of Coors Field. This is Irvin, who showed decent strikeouts. I mean, he wasn't lighting the world on fire, but for 7,000, he would certainly get you enough points to put him in consideration. So on the rankings where I had Perez as the number 1, I would definitely change that now, excluding the aces. If Irvin is that low owned, I am all over taking a chance on him today, 100%. Thank you, Chris Hernandez. I really appreciate that. That is shocking. I do want to talk to you. Unfortunately, I cannot today, but if you would please send me an email, the bathrobeDFS at Gmail, please do, and I will contact you, just as soon as I can, probably tomorrow. Today's going to be a terrible, terrible day for me. So I would definitely. Yeah, that's crazy. That shouldn't be right either. Ugh. Yeah, definitely today. people are going to be desperate for the lower priced pitchers. Don't be one of them. It's just not worth it. I have shown you stacks on stacks that you can take today. That is absolutely ludicrous. Man, that is ludicrous. Yeah, go with the two pitchers, the two aces today. So anyway, let's move on here because I only have one game left, and then I need to go do stuff. Yeah, Cleveland should be chalk for the pricing. So is Oakland should be too. The last game is the Twins and the Mariners. I think if you're talking night slate or even the main slate, Martin Perez can be in consideration. That's it. A's are only projected 10% stack ownership. That is surprising. So yeah, if that's the case and Cleveland Indians are chalk, then I would prioritize the A's over the Indians for the GPP lineup if you're building one GPP lineup. They have the same total. They have a bad team. I know I like they're going against a bad team, excuse me. I know the O's are light years worse, but the Indians haven't been mashing the ball and Oakland has been doing really well. Oh, they're both 10%. Oh, give me Cleveland. Yeah, give me Cleveland and then the A's. They're both. So thank you, Chris Hernandez. I really appreciate that. That is fantastic. Yeah, 10% is nothing on a 15-game slate. Chris Hernandez has come into the chat today and done us all a really great service. I really do appreciate that, Chris. Thank you so much. That is the kind of information I would really love to have that I do not. I come up with what I expect ownership to be based on what I see people writing and how I know the slate plays out. But I don't know. I always have a hard time predicting exactly what the stacks are going to be. So having that is wonderful. Thank you. Really, truly, thank you, Chris. So yeah, those two stacks. Give me Cleveland first, but Oakland second with those two expensive pitchers today. I really don't know any other way around it. Marco Gonzalez is not a good pitcher, and the Twins just got 10 runs against an also not good pitcher, and they are also underpriced. So they would be the third best stacking option here. You have Astudillo at 3,600 leading off. He's been the only cold Twin lately, but that dude is a pure hitter. So I'm absolutely a fan of taking a chance on him. Crone has been fantastic lately and is a lefty masher, 3,800. Marwin Gonzalez has been fantastic lately, 3,300. Miguel Sano, if you watched the game yesterday, thank you very much, Andrew Nesbitt. And the catcher, I said Castro too would hit a home run. Sano, if you watched the game yesterday, and I did, Sano was making really good contact with the ball. He was barreling that thing up. So Sano at 3,800 against a lefty, big fan of it. Buxton, again, 4,000. He has been in amazing form the last couple of weeks. So you can get a ton of Twins bats. I don't like them as much as the Indians or the A's, but they are third, and then the drop-off is dramatic between those three and anybody else. If we're talking about the best value stacks that will enable you to get the pitchers in. And then again, with the Mariners, I talked about this in the article, Martin Perez just looked too good. He looks like he's one of those older lefties that kind of figured it all out. So I am a big fan. Now he would be my second favorite non-ace under Cole Irvin. But other than Irvin, Perez would be my second favorite non-ace pitcher on the slate. So if you are going, the Twins are, what an offense. And they're the second best offense in baseball against hitting fastballs. So yeah, keep that in mind too. I think the Red Sox are first and the Twins are second. Maybe it's the Astros are first and the Red Sox are third and the Twins are second. But if you're talking specifically hitting fastballs, the Twins are out of this world fantastic. So make sure you can keep that in mind. Yeah. Though the Twins are, I wrote about it. If you read my preview articles that I wrote before the season, I wrote in great detail about how the Twins have a fantastic team that are going to go under the radar, and they have a legit chance of competing for the Central, and they certainly have a chance of winning a wild card spot. And I stick by that. I believe that 100%. They have even exceeded my expectations with how well they've hit. So yeah, give me the Twins as my third favorite stack, but still, again, it's in, you can see it on the camera. Yeah, and then the Mariners are cheap too, but give me Martin Perez over them. So I think that's going to be it. I don't see any more questions. I have to go get ready and then, try to take care of the pain. So thank you all for joining me. Chris, again, thank you so much for that information. That really is amazing. I am really so grateful. That is just such productive addition for all of us here. I want this, when one of the reasons I'm doing these free YouTube videos, I'm going to play one lineup because so I'm taking my wife. I bought my wife tickets to a concert in October, and then the artist got sick and had to reschedule it, and it's being rescheduled for today. So I'm taking my wife out to a nice dinner at Morimoto, and then we're gonna go see the show, and then have to figure out how to get home. So for someone that can't walk, this is going to be a really hard day for me. But there is 0% chance I am not going to get one lineup in of DeGrom and either Cole or Scherzer, and then those stacks that I talked about. I love it too much, and I don't think enough people are going to be on it. We don't have a lot of people here. We're basically DK. I only play DK really. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. I think it's not safe to say. I think it's the opposite. On FanDuel, you need to prioritize the better pitchers more because you only get one. In DraftKings, you can take a cheap pitcher, and if they go bad, you can offset it. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. You can offset one bad pitcher on DraftKings with the other bad pitcher. That's crazy too. Jesus. I know the Red Sox are good, but Cole isn't wine. This is why ownership is important to look at. It is a great guideline. And that is why also, and this is the last thing I will say before I go, I don't look at ownership until I'm done. I never, ever look at ownership until I have done all of my analysis because yeah. So you know what? Chris is saying, if you aren't reading chat, that Garrett Cole is only going to be 9% owned, DeGrom 48%, and Scherzer is 43%, with Aaron Sanchez also chalk at pitcher. So if that's the case, I'm going to eat that DeGrom chalk because it's against the Marlins, but I'm definitely going to take a cheaper Cole over a Scherzer and then fit in those bats with it. Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. All right. Yeah, it's the Marlins. I'm not kidding. They're the worst offense I've ever seen in my life. All right. Thank you all so much. I love all of you. I really do. Thank you, Chris, especially for that information. It is really amazingly helpful. I can't thank you enough. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Best of luck. I may not be available on chat or to answer questions like I normally am, but I'll do my damnedest to do what I can. Thank you all. Have a beautiful day and best of luck. Hopefully I'll be able to function tomorrow. If not, tomorrow might be a bad day and I'll be back on Sunday. We'll see.